An interesting lawsuit against the DMV.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Taco Comfort Solutions.
Welcome in. He's not looking for money, he's just looking for admittance. Admittance that they might be doing some things that they shouldn't be doing at the DMV. We'll talk about it tonight. Great to have you aboard. Thanks very much for tuning in to the Monday edition of the Dan York State of Mind. Be wary of some of these thunderstorms. The reason I say that is I spent the weekend in Saratoga and literally I did the opposite of storm chasing. I was storm racing away with many vehicles down 87 and Route 90. Some of the storms that hit in upper New York State yesterday were unbelievable. And it just is a reminder that we get thunderstorm warnings, you got to take cover. And we're in that season right now. And as we speak at 7:30, you might be dealing with one based on the forecast. So just a little bit of a weather note. I'm not a weather guy. I'm not a weather hobby guy. But last night, quite frankly, was a little bit of a this isn't good factor. So make sure you're planning and make sure you're looking at the weather forecast. In the meantime, let me remind you what we're doing tonight. We're going to talk to Bill Gilbert, who is the moderate party guy who ran for governor and got 3%, which is formidable in a statewide race. But I think what he's done here with the DMV might be his best public service effort yet. And I think you'll be interested in the conversation. Not that anybody complains about the DMV around here anymore. I thought it was all fixed. Link Chafee told us the whole thing was running like it was a top. Here is something that I think we need to point out. Headline: there could have been 3 more, they say. This never gets the attention, obviously, that a successful mass shooting effort garners. Successful is the wrong word, I know. But take a look at this network story and hear the message.
James Reardon allegedly posted this disturbing video on Instagram in July, showing him firing a semi-automatic rifle over the sound of people screaming. The caption appeared to foreshadow plans to attack a local Jewish community center. After an investigation by Ohio police, FBI agents raided Reardon's home on Friday, uncovering semi-automatic weapons, ammunition, a gas mask, and bulletproof armor. A day later, police arrested him.
Do you have any weapons we need to know about?
Several states away, police on Friday arrested 25-year-old Tristan Wicks in a Florida grocery store parking lot, reportedly after a tip from his ex-girlfriend. In an August 11th text message to her, Wicks allegedly wrote, "A school is a weak target. I'd be more likely to open fire on a large crowd of people from over 3 miles away. A good 100 kills would be nice. I already have a location." In Connecticut Friday, Brandon Wagshall appeared in court after his arrest for illegal possession of large-capacity magazines. Police claim Wagshall expressed interest in committing mass shootings on Facebook, but his lawyer says that is not Wagshall's intention. An FBI study shows more than 50% of active shooters share their plans beforehand, but those critical warning signs are reported to law enforcement less than half the time.
Are copycat crimes becoming a competitive sport?
Yes, actually they are.
CBS News security analyst Paul Violas is urging people to speak up if they see threats online.
We can turn this around with respect to our active shooters. But if we don't, we're going to be back here probably in the next week or so, if not less.
You know, red flag legislation is also important, and you know, in Rhode Island we've passed it, perhaps not at the level that the feds are considering it, but we have at least some mechanism for law enforcement to be able to intervene when folks close to somebody who might be thinking about doing something like that say, hey, we got a situation here, and there are X number of other components of that legislation which are important. The message here is don't take things for granted. The other message is don't flap your gums about something like that if you don't intend to do it. It's very hard to determine what really was what. The ammo that the first guy had, I think, is probably a pretty clear indicator of what he had in mind. But communication, listening, and not keeping it to yourself seems to be a real safety measure these days. So FYI on that. Listen, we have a little situation in Twin River. This Encore Hotel in Boston, this casino, has really stopped the presses a little bit. Our third largest revenue source and largest non-tax revenue source is having a little bit of a hiccup. Here's what Eyewitness News had before the real number of layoffs came out.
Layoffs coming to Twin River. Eyewitness News confirming the casino expects to lay off 30 table game supervisors in the wake of the opening of the new Encore Casino in Boston.
It's not surprising at all.
Providence College professor of accountancy Dr. Patrick Kelly studies casinos. He tells us over the phone Twin River has known about the impending competition from across the border for years.
As many as 50% of the visitors at Twin River have been coming from Massachusetts. Now that those folks are going to decide to stay home, that's going to present challenges to Twin River.
July marks the first full month of operations at Encore. Twin River's president and CEO saying in a statement, quote, "The new competition had a greater than expected negative impact on our table games at Lincoln in July 2019, while our slots performance for the same period was in line with expectations. Table game revenues last month were down 34% compared with last year, a major blow that Kelly says might have been softened by the casino's expansion to Tiverton, the addition of a hotel, and the launch of sports betting."
So we'll see. The actual number is 65, and it's some part-time, and all those jobs can be relocated to other locations. However, I mean, Delaware and the like, that's where Twin River owns other properties. I'm doubting that many of those employees want to relocate for a job just dealing blackjack. Do the table games come back? I don't know. I have no idea. We have a lot of Boston migration here, and we have a market saturation for gambling. There's only so much of the pie. When someone else gets in, your piece of the pie is smaller. And I think we're going to have to make sure that we're thinking about that going forward. Projections need to be tempered, which means the discipline needs to be executed in our state government spending, not something overall that seems to be part of the culture here. So FYI. Good news, Barrington is still in the hunt. They win their second game, meaning their elimination game. Their backs are against the wall, as they say in the business. And they won't be playing today or tonight based on weather. They're going to be playing tomorrow at 3 o'clock against the loser of today's winning round. What's really interesting is a great piece by Kevin McNamara in the Providence Journal over the weekend. Kind of a touching story about how one coach decided to get into the business of Barrington based on the motivation that he felt from Dave Belial's famous speech to his Little Leaguers a handful of years ago in Cumberland. It's a good read. Kevin McNamara gets the story right, and it's good reading. So you should check up on that if you haven't seen it already. All right. In the meantime, here's the headline that talks about the story that we're discussing tonight. Forbidden to record the circus at the DMV, ex-candidate sues. Bill Gilbert is here. Recovered from your gubernatorial run?
I think I have.
Yeah?
I think I have.
How was that experience, by the way?
I think it was a good introduction to Rhode Island for myself and for the moderate party. You know, we were able to participate in 2 televised debates. I think we performed well in those debates. Again, we presented the option to the voters of a different choice, a moderate centrist position, and we're looking forward to move forward in the future. You know, we're still building. And, you know, it was a tough election, but we're looking forward to the next one.
You know, I've said on the radio, and I think here a couple of times, that I voted for the moderate party candidate nationally simply because I wanted to see these guys have 5%. And frankly, I didn't have a choice. I wasn't a Trump guy, and I wasn't a Hillary Clinton guy either, so it made it kind of easy. But you fell a little short on that, and that means that you got to regroup. And how do you become become a formidable party?
Currently, we're still a political party. We're not recognized in the state of Rhode Island.
Meaning you're not on the ballot.
We don't have that same ballot access. That's about the only thing we lost. But if we're able to get that 5% in a next gubernatorial election, we would regain that status. We're currently looking at that. We're also currently looking at a name change that we've actually grown since the election. Our meetings are actually bigger.
Now that's interesting because back in the day, well before you got involved in this, when Ken Block first started this idea of moderate party, my first debate with him was that I just can't get excited about something that says I'm moderate.
Correct.
You know, times have changed, and maybe moderation feels like a better comfort zone for people, but you floating anything right now?
we're looking at the common sense party. But the moderate party, I think it feels weak to a lot of people. It connotates a certain position, but I don't know that that's what people feel. Like, we have extreme views on some issues, some of our especially the litmus test issues that we have. So, but what we want to do is we want to have that centrist message. You know, some of us are a little bit right, some are a little left. Right now, the party's actually leaning more to left than it was right. In the current state of affairs with the Donald Trumps of the world, with the DACA kids that are going on. So, but it's not really moderate. It's like you said, you can't get excited about it. It doesn't feel tough.
No,
it doesn't feel strong.
I think it's a conundrum. I really
It
do.
is.
You know, the branding of what you're trying to accomplish and where you were philosophically doesn't necessarily match up. You know, moderate doesn't mean unenthused.
No, correct.
Moderate doesn't mean disconnected.
Right.
Moderate doesn't mean wallflower.
Right.
But so reportedly, still 70% of America sits in a place looking at what they think is extreme right and extreme left, although that squeeze seems to, right? That squeeze
Absolutely.
is coming. But just because you can see both points of view and you're worried about the climate doesn't mean that you're passive.
Correct.
Yeah, so you got a good one going on there. We have to have a workshop on this one.
How do we? And it's a branding and a marketing issue. You know, I've had meetings over at Capricio's over in Providence with some high-ranking Republicans. It was only about 4 weeks ago. I was over at Twin Oaks with some high-ranking Democrats, and you know the names have been floated around the new Republicans. Some of the names have been floated the new Democrats. There are people that are finally looking to defect from their current parties. Not because I don't believe in those wholesale principles of those parties anymore, but it's the two current mainstream parties have left everybody. They've been hijacked, I think. And so what I'm trying to do with the moderate party is create the both that allows everybody to come together for a singular purpose, to kind of regain our government for the people. And then people can go back home to whatever their beliefs are. So, you know, how do you do this temporarily or permanently? I feel the shift is, the tide is changing. I think the election that we had last time going forward and our results, if you look like a Mr. Trillo, he got 1% more than I got, for the votes, but he spent $200,000. You know, we spent less than $1,500. I think that the moderate party message got lost in this huge election that we just had. And I think the next Trump election that's going to come up is going to be even more divisive for the country. We're seeing it now with the Wyatt Detention Center. Yeah. We're seeing a lot of these, the Antifa movement that's growing is there's a political storm out there that people are unrest and they don't have a true leader. That somebody hasn't come together and said, look, we got bricks and mortar we got to fix. Right now we're all fighting on ideologies, but we don't have a direction. There's not a path.
Well, obviously a conversation that we shall have as we go. We'll get back to the lawsuit, though, which is fascinating. Bill was struck a chord here. Stay with us. So again, getting back to this headline, it was the sponsoring matter for inviting Bill in today. Although I enjoy his efforts on the moderate party side. I think, frankly, that conversation we just had in the last segment, if you missed it, foxprovidence.com or watch tonight. If you're watching at 7:30, watch at midnight. If you can't, you go to foxprovidence.com. It's a great conversation about where people who are not left or right find themselves and how do they identify themselves and how do they brand themselves. But you did something that's really not in the auspice of the moderate party. This is Mr. William Gilbert having a little session at the DMV, or 4 in this particular case, for a totality of what, 16 hours?
Right.
Give me the background. Your daughter bought her car, and then?
Yeah, well, my daughter bought a specialty car. We spent 3 or 4 months looking for a specialty car. Bought it from out of state. When you buy a car from out of state in the state of Rhode Island and several other states, it requires the car to get a VIN check, a vehicle identification number check. I guess the state wants to protect me from purchasing a car that maybe can't be registered or inspected or insured, but it necessitated a vehicle identification check. To be able to do that, you have to go to the registry and get a temporary registration. So you have to stand in that line just for a temporary registration. And we spent an hour and 15 minutes in line at the DMV to get a temporary registration just to get the ticket to get in the regular line. So after an hour and 15 minutes, we finally get up to the counter, we get our ticket. And once we got our ticket, we sat around for another couple hours. But at some point in time, you have to go to work. You know, most people have to go to work. They can't spend their whole time interacting with their government to get a plate for their car. And you know, and that resulted in us. I had to leave.
Interacting with
Yeah,
the
it's
government
interacting with our government.
is a diplomatic.
You know,
way
to me, I think it's
explaining
an
it.
absolute circus what we go through. You know, besides the policies and procedures of having to register a car. So, you know, so we're there. We had to leave, but I had to go to work. My daughter had to go to work. She works out of state. I work out of state, and so we had to leave. We had the grandchildren with us. We had to return another day just to stand in the same line to get another ticket, to stand in the next line, to get this VIN check. And then we had to go to the police department, where once you go to the police department, they don't do it at some places. On some days, they do it at other places. They won't do it in the rain. Other places, they don't take cash. You have to take a money order. So it's just become quite a fiasco. And our third attempt, when we were at the registry, we had our grandchildren. I got 3 little grandkids. And I kind of pulled up my cell phone. I was taking the kids were getting fidgety, so I started recording my grandkids. And somebody pointed out to me that, hey, there's no recording in the registry. And they pointed to the sign that's on the wall. And you know, I was kind of shocked.
And the sign says?
The sign said that the photography to video recording is strictly prohibited. You know, a legal term, strictly prohibited. And I'm just shocked because I believe the DMV is one of the most forward-facing or customer-facing entities that anybody deals with in the state of Rhode Island. It's almost a bellwether. How good your registry is doing is almost a symptom of how good your government's doing, how good it's treating its citizens. And I couldn't imagine it. It's like, I think everybody should be able to take out their camera, record their interactions with their government officials. I think that especially at the registry to highlight what goes on in that absurdity of a circus. I think we would have a better registry if everybody exposed that. It's kind of like the essence of citizens journalism, to expose that type of stuff. And then here's a sign that says it's strictly prohibited. And I couldn't believe it. I thought we were living in a Rhode Island with the most transparent governor that we had, the most transparent government that we have, but yet it's a cloak of secrecy upon once you enter the bowels of the registry.
Does it mention the protection of the customers on the sign?
It mentions for the courtesy. I believe I forgot the exact word. So that bothered me. So what happened is I once we got up to the cashier, I asked if the sign would be enforced, because my politics, also my government and my political activism, I was offended by the sign.
Here's what the sign says: no filming, recording, or photography for the privacy of our customers. Use of video recording, audio recording, and still photography are strictly prohibited. Thank you for your cooperation.
Right.
That's the sign.
Correct.
Yeah. It's a public venue.
That's
By the way, I'm not big on this whole thing, but you were trying to, you decided after, playing around with the kids and trying to figure something out, you were thinking, I ought to show people this. Is that
Absolutely.
I mean, how long I've been here, how long the lines are, blah, 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 right?
Absolutely. I think it goes along with the activism that the moderate party does and the activism that I've done. Back in 2005, we did this in North Kingstown. 2002 to 2005, the internet was just coming of age, and myself and Chris Pratt, we started recording the town council meetings down in North Kingstown, and we were posting them on the internet on a site called nkspending.org, and we were getting our cell phones shut off. The police were being called on us back then, when today it's common practice. Everybody should be able to attend their government meetings right online. But we have other agencies that want to put the cloak of secrecy upon our cameras. So this is something that was near and dear to my heart. When I saw the sign, I was like, I was really offended and shocked that I couldn't broadcast this to my fellow people. And I thought to myself, if everybody in this 3-hour line pulled out their phone and highlighted this, things might change. Right now, one of the biggest political stories is we want to approve a 20-year contract 4 years early for a company here, on the IGT thing, 4 years early. But yet we let our citizens stand in line, and we don't even take care of the immediate pressing issues right in front of us. It goes to the heart of how I believe our government has slowly eroded the rights of the American people.
So the IGT intersection with this, I get you're talking about transparency.
Transparency, absolutely.
Yeah, we've had a lot of focus on the IGT thing, and I tend to think that a renewal of that contract is probably best for the state, notwithstanding that situation. This thing needs a resolve, and Bill filed litigation to resolve it. He'll explain what he wants to do with it when we come back. Stay with us. We only got a couple of minutes, but here's a copy of the lawsuit. So you're taking legal action against the DMV for the express purpose of doing what? Quickly.
What I'm looking for is what they call a declaratory judgment. There is case law, and in federal court and state court, there is an action you can bring called a declaratory judgment action. And a declaratory judgment is when you feel your rights or your constitutional rights, or you feel you need redress from your government, you can file an action which is simply a declaratory judgment where I can declare my rights. I'm looking for the courts to determine whether I do in fact have a right to videotape and hold my government accountable while I'm interacting with them. I'm asking if other citizens have that same right, and can I do it in the DMV? So it's simply a declaratory judgment. From there, we'll have to determine whether those signs were actually put up legally.
The suit is filed in federal court.
The suit is filed in Washington County Superior Court.
Oh, Superior Court, State Superior Court.
State Superior Court.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what a Rhode Island judge thinks about this Rhode Island matter.
Right.
But I think the law probably speaks for itself. And the moral of the story, at least in part, at the end of Chapter 1 here, is that they took the signs down.
They did take the signs down, but only after I filed the suit. I filed the suit the same day the signs were taken down. I'm glad they took the signs down, but there's nothing preventing them to reapplying the signs or posting the signs once again without court action. What's more disturbing...
And you talked to the deputy director.
That's correct.
Real quick.
I spoke with the deputy director before I ever took this action. I sat down in her office. At that point in time, I asked her if she would remove the signs or if she would enforce the signs. She told me that she thought I had the right to video record. She told me they would not take the signs down, that they were a result of all the department directors and department heads having a meeting, and they decided that they were going to post these signs. She said I could go and video record my interactions getting my registration, and that she would even escort me, but they would not take the signs down. And I let her know that I'm not looking...
That's completely counterintuitive.
Right. I don't know why...
If you ask for a special meeting with the deputy director, you get a wink and a nod, but
Right.
but for let's keep the general public calm.
Correct.
Yeah.
I believe the signs were willful, intentional, and purposeful to mislead people from videotaping. Most people, I believe, just comply with orders, especially when
I don't think they have a
seal.
prayer in this case.
Yeah.
You spent your own dough on this?
I did. What I'm looking to do is I got a couple of legal challenges where I think they're going ahead is what they call qualified immunity. Because a lot of people don't realize one of the reasons why we have so many bad actors in government is they have qualified immunity. They don't have any consequence when they do something. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I'm looking to also challenge that next law. So I've already got the next 2 or 3 legal arguments ready to go,
okay.
And I'm looking for that. So
well, we will follow this. Court date real quick, what is it?
We don't have a court date yet. They have not
will.
answered the complaint yet.
All right. Pretty good. Thanks. Final word when we come back. I think this is a fascinating case. The state of Rhode Island and the DMV would be wise to cooperate with Mr. Gilbert and file some kind of joint understanding that the facts are what the facts are, and maybe we shouldn't have had that department head meeting. Maybe we should just understand that the Constitution needs to prevail rather than CYA at the job. Just me thinking. We'll have a couple of repeat programs this week, a little vacation time in and out, and we'll get back to you on Thursday. Of course, we'll be on the radio at 3 on WPRO. We'll see you.